Today we're here at the Flint Hills Breadbasket to be able to talk about the importance of a land-grant university in our strategic plan. The number one focus of the strategic plan of our university is to maximize the student experience. And when we talk about maximizing the student experience is having an applied learning environment like this. I think it's just a great example. So Tamara, you're with the Stanley School of Leadership. Your job is to teach our students and give them this incredible student experience. How did this partnership come about with Carla and her team?
Yeah, so it's amazing to look back at the history of this program. So over 20 years ago, students taking our classes canvassed the city of Manhattan for a canned food drive, which again follows that model of the 80s in terms of going door to door just as a service event to collect food for the Flint Hills Breadbasket. Over 10 years ago, the faculty teaching our LEAD 212 Introduction to Leadership concept said our whole class could be centered on the issue of food security, and this work could be really designed to help students have that applied, engaged experience.
So what would a student learn and gain outside of the regular classroom kind of experience? What would they learn by working with you with this particular experience?
We span around 8 to 10 weeks of what we call the community leadership experience, where they're doing this active and engaged learning. So everything from what is food security and food insecurity, and what does that look like here in Riley County? What does it look like in Manhattan, in their own hometown? What have been all of the different approaches around how you can address this really complex, pervasive issue? To then, what can students do about that? And that's where the Flint Hills Breadbasket really comes in, not only from the education piece about what is this issue and how can we personalize it for you. And so every year the project is different, but historically 1 in 4 K-State students has taken this Introduction to Leadership Concepts class. So we'll have between
1 in 4 students?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we'll have 400 to 800 students every fall semester. And we can do a lot with a lot of people power, right?
In the 80s, across the nation, you saw churches and local organizations picking up and starting to address hunger in their communities. And the Breadbasket was one of those original sort of organizations that did that. We started with no physical location, and it has just grown grassroots ever since. So we've been rooted here since the 80s. A lot of our students at K-State these days wouldn't know Manhattan without the Breadbasket. And we've had a good relationship with K-State ever since we started. We have a K-State grad who is on our staff now. She started as an intern and now she's stayed with us.
That's good.
And she's bilingual, and it's amazing because that has opened up a whole different population to be able to access services here.
And so these students are getting this kind of incredible experience. They're learning about the importance of community interactions. But I think, too, they're taking a message back to the world about the importance of food security or food insecurity, as it may be. And I think that's something people don't realize how big of a challenge we have, even in the community of Manhattan, Kansas.
Right.
Tell me, with this experience, how do you think it's going to help you in the world? How do you think it's going to help you as you get out into the world and you try to solve the grand global challenges of society and you're going to be productive in the workforce?
One of the lessons we learned was that low food security is really an invisible tragedy, and you never know who's going through it. And it's motivated me to do something and to be a part of the community in a way that I might not have been able to think of before. And I found that throughout my time at K-State, I've been able to put my lessons in the classroom to practice in the real world. And I feel like there's still a lot more learning to do, but my confidence has definitely increased from when I started.
I feel really good about you going into the world.
I appreciate it. I can't wait to get started.